Hello and welcome to SoCal Prep Report. With Eric Sondheimer, I'm Randy Rosenblum. And you know what? This gentleman who works for the LA Times, we're at his alma mater today, Poly High School in Sun Valley. We walked in here, everybody wanted your autograph.
Why did they allow you in here? You're a Husky. We don't like Huskies.
Oh, sorry. It's close. We're in the same valley anyway. We're in the East Valley.
We don't like Huskies.
All right. Enough about that. We really want to talk about Poly's Division II City Championship in girls volleyball. And we're going to do that with their very fine head coach here, Eddie Alcantar, on our next segment. A little later in the program, we'll also have Mary Baltazar, who's their middle blocker and their outside hitter, Tatiana Rocha, who knocked down a lot of kills this year. Let's start with the open division. Granada Hills won the city title. Not a great surprise. 5 championships in 7 years for Tom Harp's team. They were terrific in their win against Palisades.
But it was a tough match. I mean, Palisades was serving really well. Granada was struggling in handling those serves, but in the end, Tom Harp really made some great decisions there, and the Granada Hills got some momentum behind Sarah Haggie to pull it out.
Yeah, Sarah Haggie, the player of the year in the LA City section, was one of the reasons they won. Nicole Debler was also outstanding, making a lot of kills for the Highlanders. And again, 5 titles in 7 years. Division I, this was not a shock. We expected this. Venice, too tough for Cleveland High School. They dominated. They won it 3-1. Biggest surprise here, Eric, is Cleveland won a set.
Yeah, Cleveland did a great job. They're all positive. What I was surprised in going to the matches was how positive everybody was, whether you won or lost. And that's a good theme for high school sports, that you do your best and then afterwards you display good sportsmanship. And there was a lot of good sportsmanship at Roy Ball.
In Division II, Poly High wins the title. It's their second title. They won one back in '97 for the ladies, and they won it in 4 sets. Poly was the number 2 seed, Wilson the number 1 seed. Poly wins it. We'll have more on that one a little bit later in the program when we talk to the coach and players. And then in the match I thought was the most intriguing of the day, really, the Division III match. University had never won a girls volleyball championship. They outlast Central City Value 3-2. A great match.
Yeah, great match, but Uni is moving on up in a lot of different sports, so I think that's the last time you'll see him that low at the level.
There's no question about that. And Kendall Blow, their outstanding middle blocker, was fabulous in the 5th set. I got the scores here for football. Let's talk a little football. In the playoffs, Banning gets by Sylmar. This was not an easy game. It was tight all the way. Joe Villarreal, the great running back, did not play for Banning. He's out for the entire playoffs with a torn ACL, but they were able to wear down Sylmar.
Yes, somehow Miles Porter was able to come back. Banning's really struggled on offense because of the injuries they've had, and they're going to get El Camino this coming week, and they still will have a difficult time, I think, because of the injury, but to win without Villarreal is really impressive.
Let's talk a little bit about the top-ranked team, Narbonne. They put 85 on the board against Arleta. We knew going in it was going to be a rout, but it really kind of started a trend. I'm looking at here. I got some numbers. Westchester scored 71 on Granada Hills, and Jefferson got 77 against View Park. What's going on?
Well, the trend is there were 7 running clocks, and that's not a good thing. The city section hasn't revised its division in 2 years. It will happen again next year, and I think they need to do it every year, so that's the issue. And the southern section has already dealt with that. They're doing it every year, and that will help cut down on these wipeout games.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt bad for Arleta. They had no right to be on the same field as Narbonne. I mean,
Right.
Narbonne had like 7 touchdowns in the first 5 or 6 minutes. It was absolutely crazy. Really, one of the great games of the night was Garfield getting by San Fernando. They had to rally. Adam Polanco, that outstanding quarterback who loves the big moment, had a 29-yard touchdown run to win it for Garfield.
Yeah, good win for Garfield. I think their schedule really helped them a lot. They've played some tough teams, a lot more than San Fernando has, and that gets them into the quarterfinals where they really like to be at this point.
Really, the game that was the most intriguing going into the opening round matchups for me was Crenshaw and Venice, the 8-9 game. Venice was the higher seed. They played at home. Crenshaw is the 9 seed. Robert Garrett always seems to get his way against Venice. Angelo Gaskins had times where he's come close, but it just doesn't seem to get over the hump. You were there, another high-scoring game, and again, it was Crenshaw that won the game.
Well, that's 7 straight wins for Crenshaw over Venice. And this game was all about Dayon Henley, the senior quarterback. I remember when he was a 10th grader, wasn't that strong and had great intelligence, but really wasn't there yet. And now to see him progress so much, he just dominated passing and running and leading. But also, Venice had a great performance from Luca Diamant, the freshman quarterback. There's no doubt to me that he's going to be an all-city quarterback, if not this year, then in the next 3 years. He's just a tremendous talent, has speed, a really good arm, just needs some experience. And Venice has some good skill position players, but in the end, Crenshaw just made the plays behind Henley, and they keep on rolling.
To me, it's amazing that both quarterbacks threw for over 300 yards, Henley and Diamant. But then you look at Henley, who accounted for 3 more rushing touchdowns and 165 yards. He accounted for 5 scores overall. That was really a phenomenal performance.
Well, it was a good performance. I wouldn't call it phenomenal. I think Venice helped them. Their tackling was very poor. A lot of players were breaking tackles. Jelani Harris, the receiver, had a great game for Crenshaw. So Crenshaw gets Narbonne next, so I don't think that's a great win necessarily.
We'll talk about that one on the next segment. El Camino Real 27 over Hamilton's 21. This was a tough game for the Conquistadors.
Yeah, El Camino Real is right where it needs to be. I think in the quarterfinals they have a chance to get to the semifinals. They have a lot of good players, a lot of skill position, but they're capable of winning Banning, and then they would get to play Narbonne. Nobody's going to be Narbonne this year with maybe the possible exception of Dorsey, and I still will take Narbonne on that.
Kind of for us, a sad note. Kevin McCall is no longer the coach. He's out at Carson High School. For the last 4 or 5 years, he's done a good job there. He got him to the city finals one year. But after going under 500 this season and losing 41-0 to Palisades, that was the end for
Well, he decided to
McCall.
resign. He's a good guy, did his best. He's got several player scholarship offers, so I think he'll do fine. He'll become an assistant somewhere else. But Carson needs to find someone who can get that program up to where Banning is going and where Narbonne is and San Pedro is.
It's not going to be easy. I mean, but again,
tough league.
From our perspective, Kevin McCall has been terrific to work with, and we wish him the best of luck in whatever he ends up doing. All right, we're going to step out. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the Parrots, their volleyball team, the Division II city champions with their coach, Eddie Alcantar. That's next on SoCal Prep Report.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy. Oh, and she even talks to it. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Great excitement in Sun Valley on the Poly campus. The Parrots have won their first girls city championship since 1997, winning the Division II title, knocking off top-seeded Wilson in 4 sets. Their head coach joins us here in Poly. His name is Eddie Alcantar, and Coach, congratulations. It wasn't easy. You dropped the first set, but your team rallied back and played really well.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, we did battle back. We did all year. The girls were very resilient all year, and they showed great toughness when it counted.
Go ahead, Randy.
Oh, you want me to ask all the questions?
I'm waiting
You
for
know
you to
I
ask
love
the other
volleyball.
key question.
Well, I want to talk about the 2 players we're going to meet in a little bit here, Mary Baltazar and Tatiana Rocha. They were great all season. Your 2 seniors are inside and outside players.
Oh, they've carried us all year long. Our 10th grade setter, Mariah Malari, has done a great job of setting them up. And yeah, they did a great job, and on Saturday, this past Saturday, was no different.
I wanted to ask you, Eddie, this is your first year as a coach, and you had to deal with some adversity in that championship game. And, in baseball, you go out as the manager, you talk to the pitcher. In basketball, maybe you call a timeout. How did you settle the team down?
Kind of like basketball, I did call a timeout when I saw fit. I told them, you know what, they have a middle, but we have the best middle. So after that, it kind of settled them down. We inserted a 10th grader in there that came up from JV. She did a great job, did a couple nice serves, and kind of settled everything down.
So volleyball is so much about momentum. So sometimes timeouts work, and sometimes you have to call multiple timeouts, right? And so what was the key to get that momentum back?
I think that, like you said, that timeout was key, and it is about momentum. That's something I did learn in my first year, is that it is about momentum. It's kind of like basketball. There's runs, and you got to know when to stop them.
You were talking about McElrath, the great player for Wilson, the middle block, and you guys were able to stabilize her later in the match. But I want to get to the point, how difficult is it to build a championship program at a Poly High in Sun Valley? We know it happened in '97. Here we are 20 years later, literally, and that's how long it took. How tough is it to build a title team here?
In my first year, we had 150 girls come out and try out, which always helps. So there is talent. I've helped out the previous 2 years. And this team, it was senior laden. So I knew the talent was there. It was just, a little tweak here and there, and I thought that's what got us over the top.
And of course, winning titles helps build tradition, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. If you win titles, then the kids will come by themselves.
And you're starting the state playoffs this week. You got a 185-mile drive. Explain the challenge of driving 184 miles, which probably is more than 3 hours.
I'm trying to figure out a stop where we can have a good lunch and make sure that the girls don't get too stiff, and make sure that they're ready. I mean, it is going to be a long trail. Hopefully, they have a nice selection of movies they've already picked out.
Right, Randy was already suggesting some good movies. What movies should they see, Randy?
Side Out would be the one I would probably have the team look at. And I know you're the number 12 seed in Division 5 in the state tournament, but really this is icing on the cake. For this school, isn't it about winning that city title?
Yes, I see it as icing on the cake, but you know what? We've come this far. The city title was the main goal. We've come this far. Why not keep going?
Going forward, what is the next step at Poly High School? How do you retool and how do you rebuild?
Poly wins city titles all the time, Randy.
Not really.
I think just keep the momentum from this year, give the program exposure like we are today right now, and keep it going from there.
We're going to win a baseball title. And basketball, they're going to do okay.
Don't hold your breath.
Oh,
now, I know that this building has some legends that have played in it. The likes of Gail Goodrich in basketball. Eric Schottheimer's graduation was right here. You've refurbished. It looks nice.
It looks great. It looks great. Our principal, Ari Bennett, put in a new floor for us. Our AD, Gabriel Cerna, he's in the process of getting us new banners. And hopefully, volleyball, basketball can put up some banners on this building.
Randy, that better not be sarcasm when you say it looks
There's
nice.
always sarcasm. We're going to step out, congratulate the coach, bring in two great players, Mary Baltasar and Tatiana Rocha, the outside hitter. So good. They're next on SoCal Prep Report.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. You can't control where it will land, only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how to protect your community from wildfires.
It sure is fun to be a champion, and we're going to find out from a couple players who were instrumental in Poly's championship victory in D2 over Wilson. Mary Baltasar, the middle blocker, veteran player, has been playing here for a long time, and Tatiana Rocha, an outside hitter who led the team in kills. So I'll start with you, Mary. How exciting was it for you late in the match to take control, because I know you had some vital kills, get over the hump and win the title?
It was fun to experience that, because all these years of practice, it was just a good experience to have, and to make it all the way to championships, it was great. It was just our team had to really come together and push ourselves.
Was it a little bit different playing at the Volleyball Learning Center, the big stage with a lot of fans looking on?
Yeah, it was very different, because our school is not really a volleyball school, so our stands are mostly empty in our league games, but it was very different to see a lot of our family and friends come and watch us all the way to championships. So.
Tatiana, a lot of people say you're the best athlete on campus here. I mean, they talk about your work ethic and how hard you work. Typically, are you the first one out on the court? Are you the hardest worker, like the coach says?
Honestly, I feel like it's all a team effort. I feel like not one is better than the other. I feel like we all put it in, we all put hard work in, and we all work together to just keep moving forward and play as a team.
And Tatiana, you also play soccer. Can you describe how soccer has really helped your volleyball?
Well, playing soccer, soccer's more running and more footwork and everything, so I feel like on the court here, you have to have a lot of footwork too. So soccer has really helped me with my footwork and my agilities to be able to move a little quicker on the court. And
later this week, you get to travel for the state. It's like 184 miles one way. What's the secret for you to survive that long bus trip? Are you going to bring earphones and cell phones to listen to music?
Well, yeah, of course. I'm going to have my music, but I'm also going to keep talking to my girls, and all of us keep talking to each other, and just make sure that we have that positive mindset to be able to go play at our state championship game and probably take home a win.
Mary, you helped build a championship team here, but you're an engineer. You like to build other things down the road. So tell us about your career endeavors.
I'm a very hands-on person. I like to, build stuff, I guess. My classes are challenging, but I'm excited to see what college brings. So yeah.
Well, best of luck to you. Congratulations on a championship. Mary and Tatiana, really the two primary reasons. And I know there's help, there's other great players on campus. They're two of the primary reasons the Poly Parrots are the Division II LA City Section champions.
Exploring LA County's trails is now a click away. A mobile-friendly trail locator lets you discover all our county's scenic hikes. It features an interactive map that takes you inside the trail. From the elevation to the temperature, what you need to know is at your fingertips. Wondering if your dog, horse, or bike is welcome? It has that too. So discover some of LA's best-kept secrets and happy trails to you.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Southern Section Report. I'm Rich Estrella. Well, we are in the quarterfinals of the CIF Southern Section playoffs, and there are a ton of fantastic matchups. I love the format they're using nowadays. You have teams out in the desert, taking on teams in Ventura, teams out in the valley, taking out teams in the southeast area of LA. It's fantastic. I love it. And we're going to see all kinds of new champions. I believe that this year. Let's take a look now at Division I and check out the quarterfinals. Let's take a look at Division I. Now remember, we have 5 teams in the nation's top 20 in Division I, so this is the division that's the best in the nation. Let's start off with Modern Day. They defeated Tesoro last week, 69-0. Vista Marietta got past Bishop Vermont, 38-24. Modern Day will meet Vista Marietta in the quarterfinals. Ought to be a good game. They've had one common opponent all season. Modern Day defeated J. Sarah 59-7. J. Sarah defeated Vista Marietta 28-14. So based on that score there, it doesn't bode well for Vista Marietta, but it hasn't boded well for anybody this season against Modern Day. In the other bracket, it was Rancho Cucamonga, ranked number 17th, or check that, number 15th in the nation. They defeated Orange Lutheran 27-7. Mission Viejo defeated Servite 49-28. Mission Viejo ranked 17th in the country this week. That sets up Rancho Cucamonga against Mission Viejo, number 15 in the country against number 17 in the country. I dare you to find a better game this week. There certainly isn't one in the nation, so how could there be one in the Southern Section? It'll be a great ball game. It was St. John Bosco over Upland, 47-20. They will take on Santa Margarita, who was a 27-14 winner over Sarah of Gardena. Chaminade defeated Pauley, believe it or not, 50-14. Nobody saw that coming. Chaminade will take on Corona Centennial, a 55-24 winner over J. Sarah of San Juan Capistrano. That will be a good ball game. I just think Corona Centennial is going to have way too much. They are currently ranked number 7 in this great United States. All right, Division II, take a quick look. It was Heritage 42-14 over El Toro. San Clemente 36-13 over Chino Hills. That sets up the matchup. San Clemente taking on Heritage. Heritage is in Romo Land, all right? I don't think a lot of people know where Romo Land is, but it's out there somewhere. And they're 11-0 this year. Can they take on the big dog and beat San Clemente? That is also a good game this week. It was Arroyo Grande 31-28 over Westlake Village. Valencia 34 over Notre Dame Sherman Oaks 34-3. Arroyo Grande will take on Valencia this week. These teams are evenly matched. That ball game will be good. It was La Habra 35, Oaks Christian 28. Unbelievable. Oaks Christian, typically a national power, get bested by last year's CIF champ La Habra. And La Habra is going to face Redlands East Valley, a 41 to, I believe, 7 winner over Great Oak. And that's going to set up a matchup between Redlands East Valley and La Habra. And remember, La Habra is last year's champ. Anything can happen with those guys. Those guys won the championship last year on the last play of the game on a Hail Mary. So watch out. Norco defeated Citrus Hill 35-32. Marietta Valley 63-34 over St. Bonaventure. Marietta Valley will take on Norco. These guys have had a lot of common opponents out there, and they split with them. So watch out. That'll be an excellent ball game. Division III, it was La Mirada 49-6 over Paso Robles. La Serna defeated Serrano 41-34. Back at it, La Mirada, La Serna. These guys are separated by 5 miles up Colima Road here in the southeast area, and it's going to be a battle. This is a matchup of last year's CIF championship game, which La Mirada won 45-20. I don't see it changing. I think La Mirada is going to win CIF again this year in this division. We'll wait and see. It was Los Alamitos 19-14 over the Villa Park, and Palos Verdes Estates 38-37 over St. Francis. What a shocker. St. Francis had a great season. Tough team. They're out. All right, moving on, as Palos Verdes, like I said, will beat Los Alamitos this week in the quarterfinals. Taking a look now a little bit down the bracket here, it's Cathedral 34-17 over Hart, and Rancho Verde of Moreno Valley 49-21 over Oak Hills of Hesperia. What a ball game. This one's going to be good. Cathedral, I just think, has too much for everybody. Cathedral's just outstanding this year. They're outstanding every year. And in the bottom bracket, Buena Park 20-7 over San Juan Capistrano, and it was Edison 49-24 over Newberry Park. That sets up another great matchup of two 10-1 teams. This is Dave White's final year as coach at Edison. I'm sure the Chargers want to send him out a champion. Don't forget, Buena Park, up and coming, won the Freeway League. First time La Habra hasn't won that division in about 12 years. So congratulations to Buena Park. All right, in the division number 4, it was Sierra Canyon. They beat Lakewood 24-0. Redondo defeated Cajon 43-24. That sets up Sierra Canyon at Redondo Beach. Sierra Canyon's undefeated. Redondo Beach 7-4. Don't let the records fool you. Redondo played the toughest schedule in CIF, bar none. They played all the great schools this year. They played number 18 in the country at the time, Rancho Cucamonga. So, and not to mention, they played Rancho Verde, who was a league champion. So they had a really tough pre-league schedule. I don't know what's going to happen in that game. It ought to be good. It was Charter Oak, 55-28 over Dundora. Downey, 55-27 over Damien. So what's the common denominator? Both teams play offense. 55 points for each school. Amazing. And allowing 28-27, you can't get it any more evenly matched than this. Downey, Charter Oak, Lou Farrar against Jack Williams. Awesome ball game. Corona Del Mar 41-20 over Marietta Mesa, and it was Colony 22-13 over Palm Springs. Sets up Corona Del Mar versus Colony. Corona Del Mar is a perennial power. Colony's up and coming. We'll see. They play two entirely different schedules. In the bottom bracket, Etiwanda 24, Valencia 14, Lompoc 65, Carter of Rialto nothing. Lompoc's got 6 shutouts so far this season, including last week 65-0. Lompoc's pretty darn good. They've scored 543 points on the season, allowed just 44. Their average score is 50-4. Unbelievable. They don't have any signature win though. Etiwanda does. And they played a really tough schedule, including Rancho Cucamonga. We'll see where that one goes. In Division 5, should we just already crown Calabasas as the champion? No, you got to play the games, and some schools in there that could possibly beat them. Okay, I'm just kidding. There isn't. But let's take a look anyway. This week it's going to be St. Joseph's at Calabasas. St. Joe 7-4 against Calabasas 11-0. Little hope for victory for St. Joe's. I'm not going to play. Let's move on. We're running out of time here. In the other ball game that's going to play in the other bracket, it's Roosevelt. 50-28 over San Jacinto. Redlands 24-10 over La Quinta. They will meet in the quarterfinal matchup. Roosevelt against Redlands. Roosevelt's 9-2. Remember, they came out of that Big 8. That Big 8 in the Inland Empire. You got Corona Centennial, you got Norco, you got Santiago, you got a lot of good schools in there. So Roosevelt this year's battle tested. We'll see what happens at Redlands. Redlands always has a good team out there. Let's take a look at Salesian. They'll be playing at King this week. Salesian 7-4. 4-7 is King. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be an interesting ball game. King upset Paloma Valley last week. And remember, Martin Luther King was 3-6 coming into the playoffs, and they defeated the number 2 team. And finally, it was Ventura 35-19 over Moore Park. It was Capo Valley 26-8 over Foothill. That sets up a Capo Valley versus Ventura matchup. That game is a toss-up. Due to time constraints, we're just going to have to run. Let's take a look at the rest of the brackets along the way. All right, that's all the time we have to look at the brackets right now. Be sure to join us next week as we preview the semifinal matchups. It's almost the end of the 2016 football season. I hope it was a good one for you. On behalf of the crew here, I'm Rich Estrella. We'll see you next week from the SoCal Prep Report.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Time to talk about the big games, the key games in the quarterfinals in the LA City section. Let's start with Crenshaw going to Narbonne. We talked about Dayon Henley and how great he was last week against Venice. Now he must go up against that stout defense from Narbonne.
It's going to get ugly. I just think the Narbonne defense is tremendous. All those great linebackers, Dominic Peterson on the defensive line, plus the way the offense is playing behind Jalen Chapman, it will be a running clock if I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's been the most astounding thing about this Narbonne charge down the stretch. We knew they had a great defense. Their offense has really come together.
Clicking, clicking, clicking.
Yeah. All right, the next game we should talk about is El Camino Real at Banning. Now, ECR has lost the last couple of years to Banning, but this Banning team is banged up. We mentioned it at the top of the show. No Joe Villarreal, their great running back. Yeah. You got to give ECR a real shot here.
Yes, definitely. I would probably pick them, but it's at Banning, so there's a little bit of advantage. But this is a huge game for El Camino if they can get to the semifinals. So I would give them a slight edge.
Another intriguing game for me is Palisades going to San Pedro. I like what Corey Miller's done with the Pirate program. I like their quarterback, Austin Jackson. But Palisades, I mean, they look good.
Another dangerous team. They're running the ball really well. They're getting some good defense. I think San Pedro deserves to be the favorite, but it would not be a surprise that Palisades won. They're starting to roll here in the playoff.
Yeah, their running back, Innocent Oko, has been fabulous all season long. Garfield at Dorsey. Now, I was kidding Lorenzo Hernandez to take it easy on Dorsey. I talked to him earlier in the week after they had their big victory over San Fernando. Dorsey's obviously a heavy favorite and should win this football game.
They should. You know, they have great weapons on offense. Defensively, they got Kayvon. They're one of the better defensive games. Yes, thank you for that. I can't pronounce his name, but you can do it for me. So I still think Dorsey's going to play Narbonne. I said I don't want to ruin everybody's everybody in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. I still believe it's going to be Dorsey versus Narbonne on December 3rd at El Camino College.
Do you give, as we move into Division II, any chance for Canoga Park? I know they're a decent team going to Hawkins, who's undefeated.
No.
I don't either, but I just want to see if you do.
Hawkins will wipe them out. I'm looking forward to the semifinals when you'll have Westchester taking on L.A. Hawkins will wipe out Grant if that's who they play in the semis too.
Yeah, well, Grant's still undefeated. Again, their greatest season they've ever had. They're 11-0. How about Fairfax going to L.A.? I know you've already picked them, and I think L.A. will win the game. They're bringing in lights at L.A., so they're taking this game seriously. They're going to play it under the lights, and there's going to be a nice audience there.
Well, Fairfax upset them last year, and that's one of the issues. L.A. will be very motivated to get their revenge. So if they hadn't beaten them last year, I think Fairfax would be able to maybe surprise them. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Markel White's a very good quarterback for Fairfax.
Yes.
He could make it interesting.
The going against that defensive line will be very tough.
I noticed you had some of your thoughts on the top teams in the city in boys basketball this year.
Yeah, basketball season starts on Monday. People want to go out and see Narbonne and Birmingham. They're going to be playing at the Redondo High tournament. I really think that Fairfax, Birmingham, Narbonne, Westchester, those are the teams to watch. Uni's going to be very good in the Western League. Who knows? Taft is always good under Derek Taylor, so we'll see where those come. And, of course, you have Dorsey and Crenshaw out in the Coliseum League.
Well, Eric celebrated here today at his alma mater. My alma mater has their fundraiser, their big alumni day, Saturday. They'll have a luncheon and then a game, doubleheader, girls and boys with their alumni. People from the 40s and 50s are coming back to sign an autograph.
Does that mean
ball.
you are?
No, I'm not going back.
Okay.
For Eric, I'm Randy. We'll talk to you next time on SoCal Prep Report.